My name is Zachary Holden. I'm 37 years old, an engineer by profession, and a man who values two things above all else: privacy and principle. 3 years ago, after years of saving, I finally bought a home sitting right at the edge of a suburban development called Clearbrook Meadows. It's a decent enough place if you're into manicured lawns, color-coded recycling bins, and neighbors who time their seasonal decorations down to the hour. But my property, it sits just outside the reach of the HOA's grasp legally and geographically. That half-inch buffer on the zoning map has been my freedom and Cynthia Madison's personal nightmare. Cynthia, of course, is the self-appointed queen of Clearbrook. Officially, she's the HOA president. Unofficially, she's a clipboard-wielding tyrant who treats neighborhood oversight like it's a career in federal law enforcement. She's the type of woman who once fined a neighbor for growing the wrong kind of hydrangea. The same woman who rallied a petition to ban Halloween inflatables and tried to dictate what shade of blue someone could paint their front door. I stayed out of the Clearbrook circus. I kept my lawn trimmed, my hedges neat, and lived quietly on my patch of land. I didn't attend their meetings, didn't read their newsletters, and most importantly, I owed them nothing. In Cynthia's eyes, that made me a problem. Things were tolerable until I installed a flagpole. A 30-foot gleaming aluminum flagpole planted firmly next to my front porch, hoisting the American flag. It wasn't just about patriotism. It was about sending a message. This is my land. These are my rules. And no self-important clipboard queen is going to tell me otherwise. The day I raised that flag, I swear the air temperature dropped in Clearbrook. Cynthia stood across the street, arms folded, lips pursed, glaring at me like I just declared myself sovereign ruler of my own micronation. Later that afternoon, she stomped up my walkway, heels sharp against the concrete. I was sitting on my porch, sipping sweet tea, enjoying the breeze when she stopped 2 feet from my steps. "Mr. Holden," she said, her eyes narrowed. "We need to talk about that flag." I didn't move. "Do we?" She gave a stiff nod. "It disrupts the aesthetic continuity of the neighborhood. I'm going to have to ask you to take it down." There it was. Not about the flag. About control. About a line she couldn't cross. "This is my property," I said. "The HOA has no jurisdiction here. The flag stays." Her eye twitched. "We'll see about that." She turned sharply and clicked off down the path. I didn't know it then, but that was the moment I lit the fuse. It was just past 2 a.m. when my dog, Dookie, a 100-pound Doberman with the temperament of a monk and the instincts of a soldier, started to growl low and deep. Duke doesn't growl at squirrels or stray cats. When he growls, it means someone's where they shouldn't be. I rolled out of bed, grabbed my phone, and tapped into the motion-activated camera feed. There she was. Cynthia Madison, dressed in a black tracksuit, hood up, gloves on, flashlight in one hand, collapsible ladder under the other arm. She looked like a middle-aged ninja who'd read one too many DIY stealth blogs. She clumsily clanged the ladder against the flagpole, wincing at the sound. So much for stealth. She set it up, fumbled with the pulley like it was some kind of alien device, muttering curses as she tried to unclip the flag. I grabbed a hoodie, slid on my boots, and quietly stepped outside. Duke was at my side, posture stiff, ears perked. We moved silently into the yard. Just as Cynthia reached the top of the ladder, Duke let out a single, thunderous bark, a sound that probably woke up half of Clearbrook Meadows. Cynthia shrieked. A full-blown horror movie scream. She twisted on the ladder, losing balance. One foot slipped, then the other, and she tumbled backward, flailing wildly before landing with a crash right into my rose bushes. I approached, trying to hold back laughter. "Evening, Cynthia," I said, taking a sip from the coffee I'd poured on my way out. "You know, most folks just ask if they want to see the flag up close." She flailed in the bushes, her blazer torn, hair wild, one shoe missing, thorns stuck in her pants. "I was checking the structural integrity of your flagpole," she spat. "In the middle of the night? With gloves, a ladder, and your car parked 3 blocks away." I gestured toward my driveway camera, its red recording light blinking. She froze, realizing she was caught. Trespassing. Attempted vandalism. Maybe even some kind of petty theft charge. And definitely a fashion crime, Crocs with socks during a covert op. Duke growled softly, standing guard at the base of the flagpole like a sentry. Cynthia scrambled to her feet, limping, brushing at leaves stuck to her jacket. "I'll be filing a complaint about that dog." she hissed. Make sure to send it to someone who actually has jurisdiction here, I replied, waving as she gathered her ladder and hobbled back toward the street like a raccoon retreating from a tipped-over trash can. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 2 days later, while fixing a shutter on the porch, I spotted 2 men in dark blue polos approaching my property. Their shirts bore the HOA logo. Behind them, heels tapping sharply against the pavement, was Cynthia. Unshaken, unapologetic, determined. She marched up to my steps, chin high. These are authorized HOA compliance officers, she announced, gesturing at the men flanking her like security detail. Both wore sunglasses despite the overcast sky, clipboards clutched like shields. We're here to enforce corrective measures, she declared. You're in direct violation of Clearbrook Meadows visual ordinances. I didn't even bother standing. You're back. And you brought back up. Is this a reality show now? This is a lawful inspection, she snapped. You have until the end of the day to remove that flag. Refusal will be documented and escalated. You still don't have jurisdiction here, I said, my voice steady. Your HOA line ends at that stake down the hill. These guys have no right to be on my property. One of the men stepped forward, a shaved-headed bulldog of a guy who looked like he still wore his high school football jacket. We're here to ensure compliance. You don't want to make this difficult. I stood up slowly, the air between us thickening. Step off my property. Now. Cynthia's voice snapped like a whip. If you don't comply, we'll fine you $1,000 a day. We'll have your lot declared a nuisance. You'll regret this. I stepped toward the trio. You're trespassing. Leave or I call the police. The bulldog sneered, muttering something about tough guy, and reached out, gripping my arm hard. His mistake. Duke sprang up, snarling, teeth bared. I jerked my arm free, shoving the guy backward. He stumbled into Cynthia, knocking her slightly off balance. She let out a high-pitched squeal. You assaulted me, she screeched, pointing a shaking finger at me. No, your goon grabbed me first. I shot back. But let's let the police sort it out. I pulled out my phone and dialed. Yes, I have trespassers on private property. One just put hands on me. I need a patrol unit. Cynthia's confidence cracked for the first time. This is a civil matter. There's no need to involve the police. Too late, I replied, holding my ground. They're already on the way. When Officer Johnson rolled up 10 minutes later, the HOA squad tried to backpedal, mumbling about misunderstandings. But the footage from my cameras didn't lie. The officer gave them a warning. But the line was drawn. Cynthia had made her move. And now? I was ready to make mine. This was only the beginning.